Now, as I said before, today's program is completely on your hips. When you're standing like this, this is a natural position for your hips. How much we use the hips, when we are walking, this is the movement of the hip. When we are sitting, this is the movement of the hip. So these are the two movements we do all day, nothing more. The hip is not being used more than this little half circle of the space of the hip. This little half circle space of the hip. And what happens when you just use that part is the bone is always moving in that little space, like this, like this, like this. And what happens after some time is the bone gets bad. And if the bone gets too much bad, then of course we have to replace that bone socket and the hip space. What we want is to move the hip joint in all directions. So today, the focus of our postures is to rotate the hip joint in all directions that we can now. Now we'll start with only one leg up straight. Here, this is a natural movement for your hip. But what you're working on is your ankle muscles. If your ankle muscle is weak, it's then you have the shake like this, and then you cannot hold the one leg posture. So first only with the ankle movement. Inhale, take your arms up, take your right leg up. Now if you're shaking, that shake is coming from the weak ankle muscles, feel it. Otherwise the rest of the body is not shaking much. Take your arms down, take the leg down. Inhale, take your arms up, take your left leg up. Now same, feel, concentrate on your ankle. Because again, while walking, we don't use the ankle too much. Now we just use the hip mostly, but even the foot has to move like this. No? And that strengthens the ankle, that gives the movement more in the ankle joint. Take your arms down, take the leg down. Now, after fixing the ankle, we'll start with the first movement of the hip. Now there are two movements involved in this exercise. When you're lifting your leg up like this, what happens to your hip is you move the hip joint like this. No? You move your hip joint. To do this, your hip joint has to move like this. Otherwise, it's just moving forward and back like this. But this is this movement. And once you are there, we turn it around like this. So it's a completely, this movement we never do in everyday lives. No? So just try to imagine, think what is going on here. Hip joint like this, up, and then hip joint like this, in. So two separate movements. One is up, and then we rotate the hip joint like this, and place the foot on the inside of the thigh. And then take your arms up. Shake is coming from the ankle. Plus there is something more happening. I'll tell that in the next, when we are doing it the second time. So just for the first time, feel what your hip joint is doing. It is up, and then that half rotation to place the foot in. Take your arms down, take the leg down. And now change the leg. Take your left leg up, that same, up and in. So that up and then half rotation and in. It's amazing how many different movements the hip joint can do, and we never think about it. Take your arms down, take the leg down. Now the second thing which happens when we fix the foot on the inside of the thigh is, this is 1, 2, but what happens here, once we place the foot inside, the foot pushes the leg slightly out. Right? The foot pushes the leg slightly out. And that makes that the hip joint pushes outwards. What we need to think now is to press the hip joint back so this part of the body is straight. It should look like in one line, not pushing out like that. So after fixing the leg, feel your hip joint, press it in slightly so you feel your side body is completely straight. Take your right leg up. Same, up rotation, half rotation down, and then fix the foot on the inside of your thigh. And now feel your left hip joint, push it in so we have that straight line of the body. Because if the hip is pushing out, again the ankle has to work more. It's not straight anymore. No? It's shaking even more to hold the balance. That hip slightly in. Take your arms down, take the leg down. Change the leg. Hold. Lift. Fix. And then feel the hip. Because what happens after some time, you train your body, you automatically press the hip in. So the body is straight. See, this should be in one line. No? Not pushing out like that. It's that muscle memory we need to build up.